This is Eddie Hearn, Matchroom Boxing. You're watching Sporting Icons. You don't need to be anywhere else.
So following the news yesterday that Luis Ortiz would not in fact be accepting the fight with Anthony Joshua. In other words, he bottled it. Now, following that video, and for those of you who haven't seen it yet, you can either stop this video now, go give it a watch, or wait until the very end of this video and it will pop up at the end of this video and you guys can click it from there on. Now, the statement that Luis Ortiz put out yesterday via his management team, King Kong Boxing, run by Jay Jimenez, I read out the statement and then, of course, I commented about some of the things that were said in there, and quite a few people, of course, hardcore Wilder fans, just don't want to hear any kind of truth or anything. So in this video, I'm going to prove to you what it was that I said, and I'm going to back it up, okay? So let's get into the statement yesterday of Luis Ortiz ducking Anthony Joshua. It's a no-go for June the 1st. Sorry, guys. We were told to stay as quiet as possible and play possum until the fight had been made, because every time someone called Luis out, it would be a gimmick to promote themselves, but it still didn't work. We just received news from promoter that it's a no-go and it was all gimmicks, and Hearn's lowball offers will not be accepted, and no contract even ever got sent. So sorry to all the loyal fans. Luis really wanted this title shot. So that was the statement yesterday. And what's a very logical question to ask? Well, what do you consider a lowball offer? Now, we're going to get into that as this video goes along, as to what he could possibly mean by a lowball offer. But again, no contract was sent. Well, no contract ever going to be sent until you agree terms. I mean, that's pretty standard procedure, right? Now, again, he's insinuating that Eddie Hearn has told him that it was all a gimmick and they were just using Luis Ortiz's name. Complete lies. And we know why it is that he's saying that, because he knows that there are a lot of the hardcore Wilder fans, the fanatics. Well, they're not actually real fans of him. They're just doing it just to jump on the hate train of Anthony Joshua, Eddie Hearn, etc. But these people are easily manipulated. They're like zombie-like. Okay, you can say anything negative and they're going to jump all over it. Now, to counteract some of the things that I was saying yesterday, or to back up even, where I said that Luis Ortiz said that he will fight him for anything. And here it is. So I'm going to read out the whole statement. Of course, I've highlighted one particular line, which is the most important part. But I'm going to read out the whole statement, okay, just for clarity. And this statement was put out right after Anthony Joshua signed to fight Big Baby Jarrell Miller. Anthony Joshua mentioned the name of Luis Ortiz a few weeks beforehand. Luis Ortiz didn't say a peep. Not one word did he say until Joshua signed with Big Baby Jarrell Miller. He's done what Deontay Wilder does, okay? Keeps quiet, doesn't want to talk, doesn't want to do anything until something's done, and then act like the big man. Why? Because then they feel safe, because they're not going to get the fight. Joshua's fought or is fighting Jarrell Miller. This fight ain't going to fall apart, right? Now, if I stumble on some of the words, I'll do apologise, because on the screen that I'm reading it from right now, it's very, very small writing, but I'm going to try and make it a bit bigger for you guys, which hopefully you can see right now. Anyway, so this is what Luis Ortiz said in response to Anthony Joshua right after Joshua signed to fight Big Baby Jarrell Miller. Listen, I heard you mention my name 2 weeks ago and I didn't feel like responding, because maybe like White and Joe Joyce, you were just using my name to show you got some cojones, which I believe you do. But just in case, maybe Eddie hasn't informed you that my manager has already reached out to him. It was last month before you made that comment about me, and advised him I'm available. So look, if you want to fight, I'm here, and stop saying I price myself out, because I've never had no offers to fight you. With all respect to you for all you have done, I'll fight you for just about any money you offer me, so you can't, and if you can't work out the Miller fight, I'm here and ready. I'll fight you in the USA or UK. It's on you, and if you think you're good and want to test yourself, who better than me? Wilder and Fury are not available, and I believe in my heart to be the best, you must face the best. Now, hopefully I read that right. As I said, the writing's very, very tiny for me, but hopefully you guys can see it clearly. So I'll fight you for just about any money you offer me. So if you can't work out with a Miller fight, I'm ready. So any money, really. Okay, so let's go back to the original one. No lowball offer will be accepted. So what is a lowball offer? What do you consider a lowball offer? Now let's fast forward real quick, or I should say rewind right the way back to March the 3rd, Deontay Wilder versus Luis Ortiz. Deontay Wilder, which I highlighted that one by accident, I was meant to highlight the Luis Ortiz one, but anyway, Deontay Wilder got 2.1 million, Luis Ortiz got 500,000, so $500,000. Okay, so just based on that, bearing in mind that Luis Ortiz, that was for a world title. For one title, by the way, Joshua's got 3, plus the IBO as well, whether you include that or not. Okay, but we're just going to go with the 3 of the main 4 belts. So in theory, Joshua should be offering you far less than 500,000, shouldn't he? As you only fought for 1 belt against Wilder, but Joshua's got 3. But no matter what, as long as Joshua offered you more than 500,000, it's not a low ball offer, is it? Bearing in mind that you took the fight with Wilder on 5 weeks' notice. Currently, you have 6 weeks' notice. So you can't even use the training camp thing as an excuse. Let's also mention the fact that Deontay Wilder said that Anthony Joshua should replace Big Baby Jarrell Miller with Luis Ortiz. Luis is always in training. Luis is always ready. This is what Deontay Wilder said. So you can't use the training thing as an excuse. You can't use the low ball as an excuse, but here's an excuse that we know could well be true. I did a video on this one before as well, if you guys remember. From Lawrence Pugmire. He's a reporter for the Los Angeles Times or something like that. Anyway, this is what he said. Just text with Luis, who tells me he could be ready for Anthony Joshua if his manager instructs him to. Don't get the sense from the PBC that they'll allow this. So he's saying that he believes that the PBC are not going to allow Anthony Joshua versus Luis Ortiz. Luis Ortiz fights for the PBC on their networks of either Showtime or Fox. But also we know, because Lou DiBella, again, I did this video yesterday on a separate one, Lou DiBella said that he knows that Deontay Wilder and Luis Ortiz already have a rematch agreement for this year. So Wilder defeats Brazil, he'll then fight Luis Ortiz. So again, that tells you 2 things. First of all, Deontay Wilder has no intention of fighting Anthony Joshua anyway. That's the first one. Okay, so again, he's going to carry on ducking. Number 2, Luis Ortiz quite clearly sees Wilder as an easier fight than Anthony Joshua. Why? Because he's going to be getting, what, 500,000 again? Hell, maybe even 1 million. They might even put it on pay-per-view, who knows? But last weekend at the O2 Arena, when Dave Allen fought Lucas Brown, Chisora vs. Gashi, etc., IFL TV, please go check it out for yourself if you don't believe me. Barry Hearn said that Big Baby Jarrell Miller has just lost out. It's just burned up around about $8 million. So you would think that with Miller getting $8 million or whatever it is, a lot of people are saying 6.5 or whatever. I'm going with a Barry Hearn one because he would know, right? So you would think that Luis Ortiz would get there or thereabouts. Why? Because coming in to save the day, should we say, save the show. Maybe he could even squeeze a bit more out of it. Who knows? As Eddie Hearn did say as well, that potentially Luis Ortiz versus Anthony Joshua is potentially a bigger fight than Anthony Joshua versus Jarrell Miller. So in theory, you think that they'll probably offer Luis Ortiz a bit more money. But again, going back to the original statement of, with them, no contracts, no terms, no nothing. Well, did you even try to negotiate? Because we're not seeing anything about that. Of course, we're still waiting for Eddie Hearn's statement. But regardless, whether it was 6.5 million, whether it was 8 million, as long as it's more than $500,000, shouldn't Luis Ortiz be accepting this? He's got more time to prepare for Joshua. It's the first one. He's always in training. So again, no real excuse. And if anything, Ortiz will probably have the advantage because he's used to fighting orthodox fighters. Joshua is not used to fighting southpaw fighters. And just off the top of my head, I can only really recall one, which was Charles Mine that Joshua fought. And he's been training for an orthodox fighter, a totally different style to Luis Ortiz. And now he's going to have to change it last minute, as well as go through the time zones to get used to the American time zone soon. Ortiz doesn't have to do any kind of time zones. All he's got to do is jump on a train, a coach, or maybe a short trip from Florida to New York. I don't know how far it is, to be honest, but So it's Joshua that's at the disadvantage, not Ortiz. So Ortiz is getting more time to train for Anthony Joshua than what he had to fight Deontay Wilder. And I'm pretty sure that whatever the offer is, it's going to be more than $500,000. But we know that the PBC are putting a block on this. We know this. Lou DiBella said it, and that guy, that Lance Pugmire, said it also. Why the PBC doing it? Well, I think it's pretty obvious. They don't want to help out Eddie Hearn and DAZN by them using their fighters. So even though their fighters at the PBC, like Luis Ortiz, Wilder, etc., are all free agents, in theory, but somehow they're still managing to block these people. So Luis Ortiz is quite happy to be an undercard fighter. Go fight the Christian Hammers and the Razvan Kajanus of the world. But here's your opportunity. Anthony Joshua only has June the 1st as a voluntary. Here on out, for the next 18 months to maybe 2 years even, it's going to be mandatories. No exemptions, no nothing. The only way he can get out of fighting mandatories is by fighting, currently, Deontay Wilder for the world title. So Luis Ortiz, you have no choices here. As in, you can't say, no, I'm not going to fight you now, but I'll fight you next. Well, you can't, because Joshua doesn't have that luxury anymore. When you're a unified title holder, you have mandatories for all of the sanctioning bodies, which are now backing up. The next one is going to be for the WBO, which will be Alexander Usyk, I believe, if, of course, he gets past Takam. Then it's going to be the IBF with Kubrat Pulev. And by the time that's completed, the WBA will be back round again. And then maybe after then, he may get a voluntary. Bear in mind, Joshua's only going to be fighting twice a year from now on. So just with those three right there, that's 18 months wiped out. Potentially 2 years, because obviously we've got June the 1st, he's voluntary. So June the 1st, then September, maybe October for his mandatory against Usyk. Then again, maybe June next year for Kubrat Pulev. And then maybe September, October again next year for the WBA, whoever that may be. So Ortiz, you ain't going to get a shot at Anthony Joshua unless you beat Deontay Wilder, when you could just have it right now. And if you beat Anthony Joshua, you become the face in boxing. You become a unified heavyweight champion. You get to rematch Anthony Joshua for a crap load of money. Then after that, guess what? You become that clear A-side in any fight with Deontay Wilder. You are writing your own checks. You're 40 years old. You don't have time to play with. You don't. Anyway, I think I've proven some facts here. Drop your thoughts below, click thumbs up, and of course subscribe. Catch you all on the next video.